Greetings, mortals, and welcome. Please present your tickets for validation. Thank you. Your existence has been acknowledged, and you have been granted access every Thursday and Friday. You will be accompanying your guides, Krista and Brandy, along with a world-renowned guest. They will be exploring an intriguing tendril of what humans refer to as reality each week, as they strive to advance you further down the path to the truths of your physical earth and what lies on the other side. Remember to please keep your hands and feet in the vehicle at all times, and do not exit until the craft has come to a complete stop.
Hello, hello. Hey, Brandy.
Happy Thursday.
It's finally Thursday.
Oh my gosh.
It's been a long week.
Some other day.
Right? It's just been a really long week, you know?
Yeah, it has. Because we've been talking about my mother and her being sick and blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. My oldest brother ended up going into ICU. He is still in the hospital since Monday. They moved him though out of ICU today.
That's good.
So hopefully, he'll be able to come home soon. Mm-hmm. And my mother, I took her in yesterday because, she's an AFib and has been an AFib. So they were going to shock her heart, put her into, put a pacemaker in, all this other kind of stuff. Strange things happen, right?
Only you, so Brandy. Only with you.
I know, right? So she, I took her in yesterday morning, and they were giving her medications and the things she needed to have for her, for her procedure. And they gave her a shot of something, and she says, this is kind of a weird thing. You might smell something or you might taste something. A lot of people say that happens. And I smelt it and I tasted it.
That's weird.
I thought it was weird too. I was like, ew. I said, oh, it's making my head like I'm lightheaded. It's like, ugh. And my mom's like, I feel that way too. And I'm like, okay. Okay, that's awesome. So, so then, she went into surgery and it's supposed to be less than 2 hours. It ended up being over 5. Mm-hmm. What had happened is they went in on her left side, like they're supposed to put the pacemaker in, because it's a 3-wire pacemaker, and they were supposed to go in through the left side. But when they got in there, her little veins have like twisted and turned, and they're doing some kind of it reminds me of kind of like a roller coaster loop-de-loop type of thing. So they had to close that incision and then put the pacemaker on the right side, which was very odd. And so now she was opened on both sides, so she's having a hard time moving around, but she is feeling better. Good. And I got her home today. Finally, they kept her overnight. Finally got her home today, and she seems to be doing well. So hopefully this will help. And we're on our road to recovery now, because she can get the other surgery she's needing, because she's got her heart.
Right.
Pumping is normal. It's doing, it's doing good. And we've got her, we're going to get her all set up, and she should be great.
Yeah. She should start feeling better too,
Yeah. Every day she should start feeling better. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Well, I'm glad that she's home and doing well. Now we just got to get you some sanity.
Yes, because between her and my brother,
I know.
They're like, okay, it's okay.
Right, it's crazy. It's definitely crazy. So,
but it has been a crazy week. So until we can get over this crisis of everybody, and then then everything will be smooth sailing. I hope from here.
Right, for sure. Well, we have a great show tonight. I'm excited. We have Heather Moser from Smalltown Monsters, and she's been on the show several times. We always enjoy having her because you never know what we're going to talk about, right? I mean, we've talked about everything from books to haunted locations, and you name it. We've talked
cryptids and yeah, we've talked about everything with her, but she's been doing a lot of stuff. I've been seeing her around a lot, you know, and we need to ask her all about what she's doing lately because she's been busy. She's been real busy.
Yes, she has. I'm going to go ahead and bring her up.
Hi.
There. So good to see you again. I was saying that backstage. It has been forever, And now that you heard what's going on with me, now you're like, oh, now I get it. Because
Yes,
this has
you've
been
had
an
a lot.
ongoing thing since my mom had a stroke in May. So it's just been,
Right.
flat out crazy the whole time. But here we are. Now we get to finally catch up.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming in. When we were backstage, you were talking about you got an excursion you're going on tomorrow night. You want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah, so it's the first time for me. I get to go to the Hinsdale house tomorrow. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
And Martin, you're so sweet. And then Wildwood Sanitarium as well on Saturday. So I'm excited. Both will be new places for me. Those will be my first places in New York that I've gotten to explore. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
Which one are you more excited about?
Probably Wildwood. I've heard a lot about Hinsdale though, so I've heard more about Hinsdale than I have Wildwood. So.
Yeah, I totally get it because I've heard a lot about Hinsdale. It's not always just be safe when you're there.
Yeah, I will.
Oh, look, she's got a kitty friend running across the
net. That's
this show is totally cat friendly. We have cats all the time. They come on the show because I have
a cat TV.
Well, you have a cat too, Brandy. You just don't let yours in that room.
Oh gosh, no. She would be all up in here, and all you would see was her. That's it.
Aww.
Right. So, yeah, that's funny. That's too funny. It seems like every show, seriously though, because Heather, I have a cat, and she's always, jumping in on the show, and we fostered one, and he was always jumping in, and and then we had another guest. I think it was Dana Stricker. Her cat was made an appearance. So yeah, we're totally cat friendly here.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. Too funny. So what besides ghost hunting, what kinds of things you guys got coming up?
So for Smalltown Monsters, we just released On the Trail of Bigfoot, The Ancients just came out not that long ago. And so that's our most recent release. Starting on Monday, we're actually getting ready to start pre-orders for a new book. Ron Murphy has a book coming out for us, Lights in the Mist, and I'm excited for that to get out there to the world. It'll come out on October 30th, but pre-orders start Monday. So those are the big things. We have a special coming out on YouTube also on the 30th that'll coincide with Lights in the Mist called Phantom Lights. So it's going to be about the spook lights, ghost lights, will-o'-the-wisp, whatever you want to call them. They come under a million different names, but exploring all of that stuff. So those are the big things coming up. That's a lot. I mean, every week we've got something new coming out on YouTube. We get 2 new shows a week on YouTube. So it's just constant stuff going.
Yeah, I've seen that Smalltown Monsters has been extra busy this year. I mean, it just seems like you're putting out more than you ever have this year.
Yes, we have been. And that's exactly right. We've been putting out more than we ever have. And it's especially with YouTube, a constant thing with YouTube. And then, of course, that's not counting our documentaries that we put out every so many months as well. So and now books too. So it's just, we got something going on all the time.
Oh gosh, yeah, I bet that's been crazy. But I mean, as great as that is, let's talk about you. I was like, I have been seeing advertisements for you everywhere. What are you doing?
Well, next Friday, so that would be the 4th, October 4th, I believe. I get to be a ghost. I get to be a guest on a ghost walk in Hanoverton, Ohio. So anybody that lives nearby, if you want to go on a ghost walk, come over to Hanoverton, the Spread Eagle Tavern, and we'll go on a walk there. And then do a little bit of investigating afterwards because we'll end at a cemetery. The walk ends at the cemetery, so
Nice.
we'll do a little bit of investigation there. So that's been going on. I've gotten a piece published in Haunted Magazine, which is a magazine out of the UK. And that was a piece that I wrote on the Bell Witch, where I pretty much argue that the Bell Witch story could fall under basically any category of weird that you want it to. It has elements of ghost stories. It has elements of cryptids. It has elements of even UFOs. If you take UFOs to literally mean anything in the sky that doesn't make sense. Not like a spaceship or anything, but they had will-o'-the-wisps that were going on as well during the whole Bell Witch thing. So that falls into there as well. And how that all kind of plays into the trickster element in general. And so that was something that came out recently. And I have a piece. There's a new magazine that'll be coming out of Europe. I can't remember the exact location. It's coming out. That'll be their first publication though, but I've got a piece on Ruru that'll be coming out then too. So I'm excited about that.
You're definitely staying busy. How do you have time to do it all?
And
then say yes to come on like our show.
She's like, I got time. I'll make the time.
That's right. It's for you guys.
Well, we're definitely next year. We'll have to get together and do something, some kind of ghosting or something, have you
please.
Down here. Because we do, we also go to Ashmore Estates over in Illinois too. So we'll definitely see if we can get our schedules to coincide.
Well,
sure.
I have to tell you this, Heather. The ladies we went with when we were in Ohio State Reformatory there.
Yes.
They're in Gettysburg.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
Right.
I've not been there yet.
How dare they be there?
How dare they?
Yeah, no kidding.
Check it.
I don't know. Awesome.
When everything gets resolved, I'm taking off. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's it. You won't see me. You might see me come home, get my change of clothes, and then I'm leaving again. That's it.
I completely understand.
Yep.
100%.
You had just mentioned lights out in the woods. Is that anything that you've seen that you've witnessed yourself?
Yeah. I've seen them here on this property where I live, and I've seen them here, but nothing. It's going to sound so silly, but nothing is as shocking as what I saw when we were filming Sasquatch Unearthed the Ridge, when we were on the Chestnut Ridge. We were out looking for Bigfoot, and we saw spook lights there, and they were so impressive that I haven't seen others that hold up to that quite yet. If that makes sense. Not that I haven't seen them in other places. It's just not like, oh my goodness, blowing your mind. Because when we were on the Chestnut Ridge, there was an instance where there were two lights that were probably basketball size. And there was a white one and a red one, and they were a distance apart where it looked like if you were to see a truck parked sideways with the parking lights on, like the brake lights and then the headlights on. So it was about that distance apart.
Wow.
But we're in the woods, and the lights are bright enough that it's shining from a puddle, like there's a puddle on the ground of water, and you can see the water. It's reflecting off of that.
What color were the lights?
One was red and one was white.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And that was really something to witness. There was someone in the group with us that went toward them, and he said, see, I couldn't go toward them at the time because we were actively filming. And my job when we're filming is to stay behind the camera, not run in front of it.
Right,
So,
right.
one of the guys in the group that was free to be on the camera went toward the lights. And as he got toward them, he said they merged together until he got close enough, and then they disappeared. But I didn't see that part because I was back. But what I saw was still pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen them like that. I've seen the little lights where they're like firefly size, like lightning bug size, but they're just constantly lit, so they're not flashing or anything like that.
Right.
I've seen those. So yeah, I've seen them, and they're pretty neat looking.
Yeah.
And then of course I've seen them in Mansfield when we were at Ohio State Reformatory there, up in the west attic where we saw the light guy that like looked like a figure made of light. There were lights that shine there as well that just pop up.
Yeah.
And that's the only instance where I've seen them like in a building as opposed to outside.
Yeah. Gotcha. We saw the lights. It was actually at the LBL. Martin Groves is in chat. He was there with us that night. And we were seeing there were different sizes and different colors, and it wasn't just one of us seeing it, was several, it was just it's pretty impressive when you see those, because it's like we're out here in the middle of nowhere. It's middle of January, it's 20 degrees outside, it's colder than all get out. So it's not people with flashlights, walking around. Like, what is this? And right before that, Brandy had saw eye shine. So that was my pretty impressive light.
Right.
I've seen them since then as well, but that night was pretty crazy for sure.
Yeah. Well, you need to explain because we have a lot of new viewers. Explain to them when we went to Ohio what the light guy. You need to explain that because some of the new viewers may not understand what we're talking about.
So in Mansfield Reformatory, they have an interior room. It's up on the top floor of the west side of the prison. It's called the West Attic. And there are no windows. The only thing to get in is the door at the end. And you can close the door as well if you want to once you go in there. But anyway, it's a really long room. And you just go to the far end and you sit down. They've got chairs there because people do this all the time. Sit down in the chair, all the lights are out, and then you just wait. And there's lights that will pop up of different colors that'll go across the room or appear in different areas. But then this light being that manifests, it's like the reverse of a shadow figure in that it's fully humanoid looking. You can see legs, you can see arms, you see movement, you can see it walk. But it's light. It's not blinding light or anything. Actually, when I talked with Greg to ask him if people, how many people have seen this, he said that some people had started calling it the Glimmer Man. And that makes sense, the term glimmer, because it's faint, but it's enough for you to see, and it does kind of glimmer and shimmer a little bit.
It does.
So do you think it's different than like a shadow figure or?
It's like the reverse of a shadow figure. I mean, literally the reverse of a shadow figure because it's light, but it was sentient. It interacts with you. It'll come closer. The first time that I saw it, I remember it would get close and then it would drop down on all fours and like crawl at us, which was horrifying. But I was excited when I got to go back, and Brandy got to see this thing as well. So that I got to see it multiple times across, and this is a year or two separating the times that I've seen it. But it'll walk back and forth. It'll come up closer to you and then back away. I know from the first time that I saw it, we actually got up and started to walk toward it, and it would back up.
Wow.
So
what kind of, both of you can answer this. What kind of feelings did you have when you seen it? Anything negative, or was it okay? I think it's okay, or?
Let me start this.
Yeah, Please.
The first time that we went up there and we're all sitting there and everybody shut off the lights and this thing appeared, I was shook. I am not going to kid you. I was shook. It was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. And when it started coming closer and closer and closer, I'm like, I had to turn on my light. I was just like, okay, wait. And I had to readjust. I wasn't afraid of it. I was trying to wrap my head around what it was. And as it was coming closer, because I don't know what I'm looking at, well, that's going to freak you out a little bit. So, I flicked on the light and we're okay. But do you know that we sat there for a little bit, shut off the lights, and waited and hear it come again?
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't know how to wrap my head around it. I
How
think
long did it take once you shut off the lights and you waited before it came back?
It wasn't very long.
No, I would say sometimes it would take 5 minutes or so, and sometimes it would appear automatically once we shut the lights off. And we did
how long
this.
would it stay?
The whole time we're there.
Mhm.
Really?
The whole entire time. And we did it like
So
5 or 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know, Heather, if you remember this, but remember we're all sitting there in the 4 chairs and there's the 4 of us ladies and we're just sitting there. And remember we're looking at this thing. And then all of a sudden I start saying, I can't see anything. I can't see anything. Everything just went completely dark. I could not see anything. But everybody on each side of me were commenting, I can still see it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was as if something stepped right in front of me and blocked my view. Now that I felt a little cringy, that felt wrong. Like somebody was actually stepping in front of me to block my view so I couldn't see what was happening. And that didn't feel good.
Right.
And then we went up there later, Heather, and I think you stayed in the same seat, but me and another lady changed.
Mm-hmm.
And it blocked her.
Mm-hmm.
And it freaked her out too, because it just didn't feel like, it didn't feel nice.
Right.
But the Glimmer Man, we'll just call it the Glimmer Man because that's a great name for it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel any negative, nothing. It was just like it was communicating with you by, it would brighten and darken. That's how it was communicating. You'd ask a question and it would, like I said, it would brighten up.
Mm-hmm.
It was just an amazing event. And because of Heather, I would have never known about this thing.
Well, a lot of people go up to the West Attic. Yeah, a lot of people go up there with all of their equipment out because it is known to be a hot spot for activity, and they have all of their equipment out, and so they're busy watching their devices, doing different things, and I don't think they're paying attention when literally all you have to do is go up and sit and wait. You turn all the lights off and just sit there, and you could hear stuff too. We could hear things moving in the room. But that's literally all it takes in the West Attic at Ohio State Reformatory.
It's every ghost hunter's dream. Just sit there and let it come to you.
And that's exactly what we did. But Heather, explain to everybody the history behind that particular area in the Reformatory.
Okay, so I don't know if it was 1938, but it was in the 1930s, I believe. The Ohio Penitentiary, which was down around Columbus, Ohio, that's where they kept all of the hardened criminals, the murderers and all of that. That burnt down. And while it was being rebuilt, they had to send the criminals that had survived to different areas around the state. And they sent some of these murderers and such to the Reformatory. Well, the whole point of a reformatory is that they can reform you and then you go back out to society and you're okay. So they didn't want these horrible people mixing with them. So they shoved all of these murderers and stuff in the West Attic in one room and just closed the door and just let them be. They didn't let them mix with anybody else in the reformatory, but all of the bad guys were in that room. And from what I understand, I don't even think a guard went in to that room. They just kind of left them be. So
yeah, they could wander. There were no cells.
Yeah, no
they
cells.
Were just had
one
all
big room.
These.
Wow.
Just one big room and had beds.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of other murders that had occurred up there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
How many documented deaths are there? Do you guys know?
I should
There's
know
got
this.
to be a shit ton of them, though.
There have
got
been
to
a
be.
lot. There have been a lot of the documented deaths there in Mansfield, but I don't remember the number right now. They didn't ever put anybody to death there because it was a reformatory, so there wasn't like a death row or anything like that. So they were murders or accidents or whatever that happened there.
Gotcha. That's just, I don't know. That's just scary stuff, man.
I don't know. Wasn't there over like 100? I know there was like over 100 men up there in that attic. Wasn't
they had a decent amount? Yeah, they had a decent amount in there.
I'm pretty sure it was somewhere around that amount, but they had showers and toilets up there, but there was only what, 3 stalls?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's only 3.
So it was like a prison, but it was supposed to reform people and then turn them back loose, right?
Right. That was the idea of Mansfield. Yeah.
For the most part, until that happened.
What kind of criminals were held there?
So people that had like lesser crimes, like stealing, maybe minor assault or something like that. They would be there, and then the idea is that they could be reformed to live and learn to live like a normal citizen and sent back out. So they would be there for a short amount of time. They weren't meant to, be there for the rest of their lives or anything. Short amount of time, be reformed, go back out to society and be a regular citizen. That was the idea. But then later on, they end up shoving a bunch of people in cells. Like they had at one point, I think, 3 guys per cell in some of these cells that are built for 2 and not suitable for just 1 even.
Wow.
So
right.
And the beds, there are only 2 beds in each cell anyway. For the most part, there is 1 cell down low that has more than that. But they would put way too many people in these areas, and then the living conditions were bad. I mean, there's a reason it got shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
probably. I mean, to me, it sounds like it started out good.
The idea
as and help them to get back into society. But yet, wow.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're standing on the bottom floor of that West Wing and you just look up, it's just they're just stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked. I mean, crazy.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to walk from one end, just walking by the cells, to the other end. It takes a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, the one side they say is the world's largest freestanding cell block.
Wow.
So that's how massive it is.
Wow. Definitely get your steps in there, huh?
Oh yeah, you definitely get your steps in when you're investigating there.
Yes, you do, and it's kind of like you have to go up these metal stairs,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not like normal cement steps. It's like you're twisting and turning around these things, and you're like, "Please don't let me fall off of here, please." But I, looking at it, I see why they closed it down. It was just.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that once all of that ruckus happened about bringing all those people from Columbia to Mansfield, that after that it just kind of went straight down the hole. Yeah. It wasn't any more for the good stuff, trying to reform people and getting them out there, and it turned into something else after that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. No thanks.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm not big on Ashmore was kind of, I don't know, prisons. Like Missouri has Missouri State Prison. And I really don't have any interest in going there because to me, it's a lot of like the negative type stuff. And unless it's like a private case, I just don't want to go dabbling in with the negative stuff,
Right.
Yeah. I've been to a few prisons, and I'm going to have to say, even though in Ohio, I found the most of the night to be very quiet,
Mhm.
Except for in that attic.
Except for the shiny man, right?
Yeah, that glimmer man. We walked all over that place and it was pretty quiet for me. I mean, I was just like, well, okay.
Mhm.
We're just,
Yeah, that night it was.
it was very quiet. So we're like, okay, it's not a problem. But that, like I said, that one room kind of did it for me. I'll go back just to do that again.
Yep.
I love that. And I would like to see what other kind of stuff they come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what other prisons have you investigated, Heather?
I haven't investigated any other prisons other than Ohio State Reformatory. The next closest one to me is Moundsville, the West Virginia State Pen. And I've been there multiple times for daytime tours, but I've not been there for an overnight investigation. But that place, I'm unsettled by it.
You're not the first.
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
Because hey, you remember Brandy? Do you remember Jessica Potter, Mermaid Medium? She went there and she was talking about like it is not a comfortable place. So you're the second person that said that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on the tours during the day, they go through exactly how bloody the history is there, and not just the number of people that they put on death row that were killed in the electric chair or hanged before they had the electric chair. The number of murders in there, just between the inmates, is disturbing. But that was the penitentiary. That's where they had those hardened criminals that were meant to be there for life or whatever, that had already committed horrible crimes. But there's something about it. I mean, like when you go to Mansfield, the architecture of Ohio State Reformatory is gorgeous. When you're outside, it looks like a castle. It's beautiful. When you're outside of Moundsville, it's so dark. The stone is a dark stone. It looks like more like a fortress. Like it doesn't look it's not that Mansfield is whimsical by any means, but it does look more like a castle and more fairy tale-esque, I guess. Even though it certainly wasn't really that in reality. But Moundsville, it looks like the place that you go to die. Like it just looks bad. That I don't know. I would investigate there if given the chance, but I would be nervous to do so because of all the negativity. Because you can like feel it when you see it. So I can't imagine what it's like at night.
Yeah, exactly. Real quick, Martin Groves has a question for you. He said, what scares Heather the most? Bigfoot, werewolves, spirits, hauntings, and buildings, houses. What is the worst? That's
a really good question. So it's not the spirits or hauntings. I am more intrigued by that, even though it can scare me at times, but I'm more intrigued by that. Bigfoot, it's got to be like a dog man, because big dogs in general scare me, period. So then to imagine one that's 8-9 feet tall and wants to murder me standing on two legs, like that would be the most terrifying thing. I would still be scared to see Bigfoot. Any large animal like that, any large creature that shouldn't exist by our normal standards would scare me. I have gone out looking for like Bigfoot and have been in positions where I've wondered do I really want to see this thing? Because I've heard them around, like I've heard movement around, I've heard the footsteps, I've heard or the rocks being thrown and all of that stuff. And there's a moment where you're there in the woods and you're like, you know what? Maybe I don't want a part of this. Because whatever's doing that, one is smart. And two, if it's anything like what everybody says, it's massive. It's a massive creature that could break you in an instant if it wanted to. Right. I wouldn't want to run into a bear either. So like,
that's true.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. Absolutely true.
I would agree. Like dogmen, I think would be like the worst thing for me.
That's my number one. I mean, do I still want to investigate, look for them, try to figure them out? Absolutely.
Right.
Do I really want to run into face to face with them? No, I don't.
No. And that goes with any other cryptid too. That's like these hybrid cryptids. Like I would never want to run into something that's like a ghost type thing. Seeing something like that would freak me out because it shouldn't exist.
Right.
Anything like that would be really anything out of the realm of what I would assume should be in the woods, I guess. A typical animal.
Right.
That would ruin me. Where the stuff that's like the hauntings and the spirits and things, I don't know. That seems more transient in certain ways. It's not like it's always going to be there. Not that it can't come back and that there can't be hauntings that stay in certain areas and there can't be attachments and stuff like that. But in general, I guess the way my mind puts it is, well, that can come and go. Where if there's an actual creature in the woods, then that's a problem. That's terrifying.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know, Heather. I think we're on the same wavelength. I mean, the hauntings and the spirits and all that, that's always going to intrigue me. Always. You know, it's not going to stop me from getting out in the woods either. And I don't know if that makes me stupid or crazy or
a little of both.
Smart. I don't know. It's not going to stop me from that because I guess being curious is going to be, our problem because we want to know.
Yeah. And another reason that the spirits and hauntings don't scare me as much, I think, is because I am intrigued by what comes next, what's on the other side of that veil, that even is concurrent in our world, but just on the other side of the veil. Like that stuff, it's the curiosity I think will win out over other things where, I don't know. Not that explains cryptids away either, because who knows what's going on with cryptids. So
I'm laughing about that. I'm like,
what would you rather do? Would you rather go to a haunted house or go out to the woods?
Well, it depends. It depends on my mood, I suppose. I would probably. It really would depend on my mood, because there's a lot of intrigue in going to a haunted house and seeing if there's anything that happens. But I love going out in the woods. So I guess
I could just see it.
It also depends on how many people are with me. I don't necessarily want to go to the woods by myself, but I can probably go into a house by myself.
Right.
But I'm not going to the woods by myself. So not during the night anyway.
Yeah. And I'm not going to the woods without pew-pews. Day or night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Need safety first, everyone. Safety first.
What about you, Brandy?
Oh gosh. No, I would not go in the woods alone. And I don't think that I would go into a haunted house that I've never been in alone. Only because you don't know what you're dealing with in either situation. First of all, you need validation of another person, especially if you see something, but you can't catch it on audio or video or whatever, but you have somebody right there saying, yes, that happened. Right. Everybody needs that validation. But the more in the woods with me, the happier I am. I'm just going to go with that.
I'd say I like being outside. I'm an outdoorsy. Just like, 2 weeks ago, I went to Brumley, Missouri to the haunted castle house. Honestly, I sat outside most of the night. Not even, there was things going on outside. We actually even heard tree knocks sitting outside, not even like Bigfooting, just, it's kind of crazy. So I think I like to be outdoors more myself.
Yeah. Well, stuff doesn't have to be confined to a building either, as far as that goes.
Nope. So. We found that out.
Nope. Yep.
It's like we took a spirit box out in the middle of the woods where there's absolutely no cell phone reception. You can't get a radio station to save your life, but yet we were having voices come over. So I'm like, yeah, you don't have to be in a house.
Nope.
Or, any building. You could be anywhere. And I think that these things are that they do haunt everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we're not looking for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Heather, do you believe that? I mean, I think that everywhere could be haunted, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I also think that it's not something that it has to be relegated to the night only either. I think that there's benefits to doing this investigation at night because your senses are heightened and you're like everything outside is quieter, so you can hear better, you can focus better. But I don't think that you have to investigate at night. I don't think that you're only going to find evidence at night. I think that there's stuff to be said of investigating during daylight hours as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I absolutely think that you can go to any building, any piece of property or something else, and it could have the possibility of being haunted. We just don't know or are not looking.
Right.
I should say we're not looking for that there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about day or night, and you know, it's been a couple of years ago, but I was at the Ray County Museum. It was like 2:00 in the afternoon, broad daylight, and we were cleaning, actually, you know, cleaning the museum. And my friend Erin had a broom. She was using a broom, and literally the dustpan moved over towards her. True story. And it was just 2:00 in the afternoon. It's like, you know, they were helping her to, you know, clean. They knew what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So yeah, it doesn't have to be nighttime at all. For sure.
Oh gosh, no. I've had stuff happen in broad daylight. I, you know, walked into a building that I constantly was investigating. So it was over time that you would get to know these spirits that were in there and they're, you know, and what they would do. And I just walked in and I heard a woman's voice saying, "Hello." I went, "Oh, hello." You know, just walking in the building, you know, it's like they get to know you. It's they get comfortable. So I think they get a little bit more brave and start doing other things that wouldn't normally happen. I mean, yeah, we got the regular hauntings. You'll hear footsteps, things moving, da 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 da. But I think once you get to know these and they get used to you being there, I think they start getting a little fancy. That's what I call it, a little fancy. You know, you start doing stuff, you know, that, you know, they weren't exhibiting it to begin with. So that's why I like doing a reoccurring location over and over and over, because it's like they get used to you and then they start doing crazy stuff.
Yeah. And they are comfortable with you, so they will, you know, interact with you more, and that's true.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe that.
Yeah.
Let's switch subjects. Let's go to elementals.
Okay.
Have you ever seen anything being out in the woods that you thought, that could be something, could be on the Fey line or?
So not while out in the woods, but the only time that I can think of where something might have been elemental and that kind of came across my mind was whenever I was during an Estes session and saw something like just the vision came to my head of something standing in the doorway. And we call it the trickster because stuff happens around the house or whatever. But that's the only thing where I thought maybe that's more of an elemental thing. Just because it feels more, I want to say like old.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah.
It feels very old. And yeah, that's the only thing, but I haven't seen it. So no, the only other things is like when we're out in the woods, if we've seen the lights sometimes playing, then I wonder if that's not a part of elemental energy as well. But yeah, I don't doubt that they're here.
Right.
I just haven't had a visual sighting like that.
Yeah. You know, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, he's seen, and I think it's really cool that like he witnessed it, but he actually seen a stick running.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I've heard that story.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I mean, so like, you know, you think elementals, you know, fae and trolls and things like that, but he's seen the stick, you know, so
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just really cool. I personally, I did a private case, and come to find out it was elementals that was actually doing it. Was like a haunting. And so that's the only time I know I've had a run-in with elementals. What about you, Brandy?
I have not. I have not. That would be an experience. But yet, you know, I hear so many stories about elementals that they can be a little bit touchy. You know what I mean? That they could be a little bit ornery, a little grumpy. And to me, that because I know that they're very old and they do have a lot of, I want to say, strength to them. There's a lot of strength to them, and I just don't know if I'd want to run up on one.
Yeah.
Well, the one that I dealt with was it was a horse farm, and they were literally killing horses. And we this was about a 5-year long case that we worked on, that we did, and couldn't figure it out. I mean, we were thoroughly investigated the place numerous times, and just couldn't figure out what it was, because it had signs of demonic, but yet it wasn't. It was just it was crazy, and the solve it was simple as planting some apple trees and giving back to them. And since we have done that, nothing has happened since then. So that was like the fix for it. That blows me away. It was that simple of a fix.
Yeah, just like restoring the balance a little bit.
Yeah, because at one time it was an apple orchard, and then all these trees got removed for the horses. She had the different paddocks. She raised horses, and then she boarded also there, and so there was all these different paddocks, and so like their trees were gone, and that's what we did. We gave back, and she's fine now. And that just blows me away. I think that's really, really cool that how it, after 5 years, we solved that case.
I think I'd be planting a new tree every year out there,
Yeah.
just to ensure what we've got going on.
Right?
We told her, like this is their trees. Like, I don't care. It can be big, beautiful, delicious looking apples. Don't eat them. They're not yours, And so, yeah.
Yeah. Get you some out there, plant some for you, plant some for them. Hey.
Yeah.
Everybody gets an apple,
Yeah. Don't eat all. So yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's just one entity I don't think that I would want to run up on. Because like I said, they are temperamental. And if they don't want you around, you're going to know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree.
Well, Heather, that brings me to the next question. I mean, because I think that elementals can be feisty, I guess. What do you think is the fae that everybody should leave alone, that everybody should stay away from?
The fae that everybody should stay away from?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that they could all be dangerous if you're not careful.
That's true.
So to just have respect in general of them.
What is the worst of the worst?
The worst of the worst? I don't know. I know that there have been instances at Madison Seminary where we saw something that looked like a leprechaun, as ridiculous as that sounds. Looked like a leprechaun, but like the leprechaun from the movies, like the distorted face,
like
the burned up face, like a troll, yeah. And it seemed pretty nasty. So that might be high on the list. I'm not sure. I'm not super versed in fae lore to know the ones that you definitely shouldn't cross. I just know the basics of don't cross them in general. Don't disrespect them. And if you've got stuff like missing from your house, every once in a while, it's okay to leave out a little bit of honey, a little bit of milk, maybe a little bit of Jack Daniels or something, just little offerings, to see if stuff starts to get restored in your house. I know that, but
yeah, the trolls, the elementals or something. I just really, that was just a weird case. And the reason I said troll is because in that lady's barn, I seen what looked like a troll.
Yeah.
So, and I thought it, and at the time, this was back in, I don't know, 10 years ago, the first time we were there. And, I didn't really believe in elementals at the time. It was just a ghost thing. And so that was that's why I was thinking, okay, this is some kind of demonic looking entity,
Right.
and that's where, So, but it wasn't.
Mm-mm.
It was nasty, It was definitely.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I don't need to see any of them. I don't need to be around any of them. I'll just do better. And then if I got to leave a little jack out for them, I'll leave a whole lot of jack out for them. Make them all happy. They'll be happy for days. It'll be great.
Happy for days. Yep.
And so will Paul, because Paranormal Paul says, if you're leaving Jack Daniels out, I might show up.
There you go.
Everybody's going to be happy.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll all be happy. We'll be happy. Yeah. Funny. That's too funny. What about UFOs?
I have not seen one. Yeah, I haven't seen one. The one time that I thought I did, it turned out to just be the International Space Station. But I was so excited at first because I was like,
Right.
I'm finally having a moment. But I was still excited when I realized that it was the ISS. I was still pretty stoked about seeing that.
That'd be cool.
The only other thing that was like cool like that I saw was the Starlink train goes over every once in a while. That's really neat to see.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a UFO. That's UFOs, aliens is something that I don't want to mess with at all. I have zero desire to ever have that kind of interaction with otherworldly beings in that manner.
Yeah.
I haven't really heard any stories that sound appealing to me in the slightest bit.
I haven't either. I mean, if you want to get right down to it, I don't think I've heard any stories that I would think, hey, I want to meet an alien.
Right. Yeah.
Brandy and I have a good friend, and she does the CE5.
Okay.
And, that's to me, like, it's one thing like opening yourself up to ghosts and stuff. You can say your prayers, you can have your protection, but does that work for aliens too? What I'm saying? Because basically, that's what you're doing. You're meditating, and trying to make contact with these beings,
Yeah. That's something that I've only heard of, but I don't even know how it works. To me, in my mind, I had it as like the Estes method, but with aliens. Is that what it is?
Basically, it's just meditation. And calling them in.
Okay.
Yeah, it's putting yourself out there, opening your mind and everything. And no.
And no.
I'll go out there and I'll stargaze all night long, but do not ask me to, to do something like that. I no, that's just like letting go of like everything and just laying it out there for anybody to look at it, especially an alien. No, thanks.
I would be interested to watch someone do that, but that would be one where I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that myself, I don't think.
Yeah. I just feel like you don't know what you're opening yourself up to, Like, and what if, you might not have anything there, but what if you get abducted a month later or something because you called them in,
Right.
Yeah, I'm not cool with that. And what about missing time? You ever experienced that?
Yes. And that happened in Madison Seminary as well, while under for the Estes method, which when you're under for the Estes method, you're in a meditative state, like trance type thing anyway. So it's difficult to tell how much time has gone by. But I know that I lost time because there was one instance where I was under and they tried to pull me out of it. And apparently I was looking at them. They had the flashlight on my face. I was looking at them and saying things, apparently threatening things to them. And then they had to come and shake me out of it. But when I came out of it, I thought fine. I knew that they shook me out of it, but then they said, Heather, you need to go outside and ground yourself, go walk in the grass for a little bit. I'm like, okay. And I noticed that everybody was acting weird, but I didn't understand why. I thought they were kind of messing with me or something, trying to freak me out for whatever reason. But I went outside and walked in the grass. And when I got in the grass, then I started to feel like something was stuck and I couldn't get it out. I started coughing and hacking and stuff. It just felt like something was stuck in my chest that needed to get out. I was doubled over and like practically heaving. Friends came out and helped me up, and then we walked around a little bit. Eventually it went away, but I come to find out that I had been under for a long time. It had been about 40 minutes that they'd had.
Oh,
That's way
wow.
too long.
And the one of the guides at Madison Seminary, her name is Shelley, said that I had started saying things, or whatever that was speaking through me was saying things that weren't super nice, and she felt like she needed to come over and sit next to me.
Mm-hmm.
And when she came and sat next to me is whenever I apparently started directing the threats toward her.
Wow.
So then they turned the flashlight on, because we're sitting in a dark room. They turned the flashlight on, and that's whenever they could see that I was looking directly at her, but I wasn't responding to the flashlight. And then I was saying stuff to her and whatever. So then they had to come over and like shake me out of it. But I don't remember the flashlight. I don't remember any of that. And that used to be how they'd pull me out, was just flashing the flashlight in my face, because I just sit there. If I don't have a blindfold, I just sit there with my eyes down, because we're in a dark room anyway. So the blindfold's kind of irrelevant. Because we keep like turn everything off. It's pitch black. But so shining a flashlight was usually enough to pull me out. But in that time, it didn't do anything. So that's the only instance of missing time that I have.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you have any like residual effects from it? I mean, did you feel anything after that?
The only thing that was weird after that, I mean, I felt tired, but the only other lasting effect after that was that every time I went back to Madison specifically, if I went under for the Estes method and I was under more than 10 minutes, that feeling would start again, and I'd start coughing, and they'd have to pull me out.
Yeah.
But it would only happen at Madison. I could go under for extended periods of time in other places, and it didn't seem to be that big of an issue. Like, I didn't have that issue, but at Madison, 10 minutes was about it, and then that would come back. That was the lasting effect from that.
Wow.
So,
That's
do you know like what entity, who, or what was jumping you?
mm-mm.
No.
I know that. I mean, I can tell you where it was. We were. There's a room at Madison Seminary known as Sarah's room, and there's an entity that they call Sarah that is either a girl or demonic, whatever, that people argue over what they think it is.
Mm-hmm.
We had been investigating Sarah's room, and I felt really weird while we were in her room. Like, I felt like irritated, which was almost like, I remember thinking things like, Sarah is getting way too much attention. There's nothing even here. This isn't a big deal. Everybody talks about Sarah. Who's Sarah anyway? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I likened it to like a teenager having a fit or something, like a jealous fit is what it felt like. These are the thoughts that were going through my head. So I left Sarah's room and walked down the hallway to a different room. And some of the team had started to follow, because I started to walk away. So they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like there's something else down this way. I feel like we'll get more activity down here or whatever. Like, I don't know. I'm bored with Sarah's room. And so then the rest of the team came down there, and then we split. Some of the team went up to the attic, to the asylum, and then half the team stayed where I was. But to have that feeling in itself was weird for me, to have this feeling of, oh, this is so annoying. Nothing, because stuff was actually happening in Sarah's room while we were there. They had those motion sensor cat balls and stuff. They were going off. They were having activity, but I just remember standing there and being like, oh my gosh, this is such an overplayed room. Those were the thoughts going through my head, and that's not me. Like, that's not normal. So before I even went under, I feel like there was something already influencing me, but I don't know what it was. I don't know who it was or what it was. And from what I understand, it was just really nasty. I don't know if it ever gave any identifying information about who it was. I don't know.
Wow, that's weird that you were actually feeling it before you even began.
Yeah, and that hasn't happened. I can't think of another time where that's really happened. I follow like intuition and stuff when I'm out, but not. Intuition was different than whatever was going on there. That was not my intuition. That was, like I said, thoughts that aren't like me at all.
Yeah.
So it was weird.
Very.
I don't know. I was just trying to think of a time that had happened, like something like that had happened to me, but I can't tell you. I don't think that's ever happened to me where I've had that feeling before I even began. And then now I've said stuff to people, but I wasn't talking directly to them.
Right.
You know, I was actually calling people we were with. I was saying, "You're nasty." You know, and I was saying stuff like that to them. You know, but it wasn't. It wasn't like you're describing. So that's where everything gets a little bit fearful. You know, it's just kind of like you were not. It was like almost like you weren't there. Somebody else was there.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Yeah. Here's a quick question, and we can go back on topic. Werewolf asks, do you think a demon will stay in one place a long time?
I have no idea what a demon would do. I don't know. As far as I know, I haven't ever interacted with one. I would imagine it would do whatever it wants to or needs to do to get whatever end it's trying to get.
Yeah. And the demonic, they're very patient. So as far as staying in a place for a long time, oh yeah, easily.
Well, the concept of time wouldn't be the same, right?
Right.
Because for a demon to be a drop in the bucket, you know, and it's like if they're after one particular thing, like Krista said, they're very patient. They'll wait you out.
Right. Yep. They'll wait, you know, could be 20 years for us, but it's like you said, there's no time there for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be a minute to them. Who knows?
Yeah. Yep. I know, you know, the couple true demonic cases that I have done, man, it's nothing you want to mess with. I can tell you that from experience.
No.
Yeah. Have you ever, Heather, been like scratched or hair pulled or anything like that?
I can't think of a time that my hair has been pulled. I have been scratched, but that happened here at the house. And that was, it was after everybody had left in the morning. I was actually packing up because we were getting ready to go on a film shoot out to Colorado to film what ended up being On the Trail of UFOs Night Visitors. But I was finishing packing up that morning because we were heading to the airport to fly out to Colorado. But the kids were already at school. My husband had already left. So I was the only one home. And I'm packing. I'm in the back part of the house. And I hear my husband call me, like yell out, "Hey, Heather." And I immediately started to panic a little bit because I thought, oh my God, if he's home, something happened. You know, like there must have been an accident. Something's wrong. So I run out to the kitchen where the door is and nobody's there. Look out in the driveway. The car is not there. No one's there.
Wow.
And then I got irritated and I said out loud, I'm like, we're not going to do this. Or something to that effect. And it was right after that I felt burning on my neck.
Wow.
And went like burning and itching, like, you know what, it reminded me of the times that I've had like pre-workout drinks and you get this flush feeling.
Yep.
That's what it felt like. And I went to the mirror and there was a scratch down my neck. And I was like,
wow.
All right. But so I figured it was probably because I got mouthy was my figure is that because I was like, oh, we're not doing this, you know, like we're not playing this game. And then I got scratched right afterwards. But other than that, I can't think of a time that I've gotten, that I've had anything happen.
Yeah.
How did that feel? I mean, because you were at home.
I was irritated. I was more irritated than anything else. And then the thing is I'm not the only one that's heard whatever does the voices here. The kids have all heard both their dad and me call them at different times when we're not here or in different parts of the house or whatever. I've heard the kids yell when they're not there. Like there's something that mimics the voices.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's not that big of a deal anymore because this has been going on for a few years at this point. But in the beginning, it was just really annoying. It was really irritating because everybody would. It wasn't like it was necessarily a calm yell that you would hear. Like when I heard "Hey Heather," it seemed pretty calm, but given the circumstances and the situation, I panicked because I thought something had happened. There was no reason for him to be home, so I'm like, "Oh my god, there was an accident. He hit a deer on the way to school or something." You know, like whatever.
Right.
And those were the situations when the voices would happen. So it was just irritating more than anything else.
Well, then that makes me wonder, though, because we did catch that EVP when you were on the show with us that one time. And I'm wondering if that is actually from you, because we couldn't figure out who it was from. And I'm wondering if it was from you.
Did we ever play that for you?
You did. It was a long time ago, and I don't remember what it sounded like anymore.
It said, bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, it was like, bye-bye. It was just a little itty-bitty tiny female. Sounded almost childish.
Right. Huh.
And it was like, bye-bye.
Well, maybe it did. I don't know, because whatever's here can do different voices, so.
Do you have any idea who or what is there at your house?
No, the only thing that I know is here is that trickster thing, whatever that is. I don't know who that. Like, I don't think it is a person as far as that goes. I don't know if that's the only thing that's here. I doubt that it is, just because I've seen the shadow figures and so on. And I doubt that. I don't know. My gut just tells me it's not one thing doing all of that. But I have no idea. I have been here for about 4 years at this point, 3 or 4 years. Because time's weird after the pandemic, and it was after the pandemic that we moved here. So, but I don't know, and I haven't looked into the history of the house too much either. I feel like I've thought about that. But part of me is wanting to save that mystery for a little bit longer. For some reason. I just want to.
Once you open that can of worms, you can't close it.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like that's just one of those things that I do want to look into. I do want to know all of that at some point. I'm just like saving it for, I don't know what, just the time that feels right, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. What year was your house built?
I have no. It's over 100 years old. I do believe.
Okay.
It's an old farmhouse. It's had lots of additions put on it that are newer. Like the room I'm in right now isn't that old, but the main house I believe is about 100 years old. So.
Gotcha. Wow.
I could see your apprehension on that. I don't think I'd want to open that either. I mean, my house was built in 1984. The people who built it are still alive. And so I know that the house itself is not the issue. It might be something that I've acquired over time and have in the house, or it could be the property. It could be a lot of things. But I know that the house itself is not it. So
right.
I would, you're so curious, but you're like, no, I'm going to wait on that just a little longer,
Well, and too, if you're not being hurt and, nobody's getting hurt or anything, why mess with it? If it doesn't bother you and it's doing, then so be it. That's the way I see it. It's different when you investigate your own house too. And I always tell people, when doing private cases, like, make sure this is what you want to do, because it can amp up more after we leave. You live here, we get to go home. I always tell people, like, I can't guarantee it won't amp up.
And I mean, there's no guarantee that we could get it to go away.
Right.
You know, even with everything that we know, there's no guarantee that we can get it to go.
Make them leave.
There's no guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like, are you ready? That's the thing. Are you ready for this?
Right. Right.
And, you know, in the meantime, like, you know, you can do cleansings, or you can even ask it, like, listen, you know, say, you know, it comes in your bathroom and you're uncomfortable, you know, please stay out of my bathroom. You know, you can have this room or something like that too. You know, my philosophy is, you know, I'd like to think most people are good, you know, so if you're good in life, you're good in death, you know, so I feel like a decent person would honor that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say this. The more I'm seeing people today, I'm not sure if that's
well, yeah, I got you
anymore. Yeah, I don't think that is accurate. I mean, I think people are forgetting, you know, about, I don't even know how to say it. I think they're forgetting that there's other people out there, you know, you know, we all have to live here. We all have to do this in our community. And it's just kind of like they're just out there all willy-nilly, just talking to whoever, opening these can of worms and letting everybody else deal with them, you know. So you know, and I don't know though, Heather. I'm with you. I wouldn't open it.
Yeah, I don't think I would either. You know, as long as nobody's being hurt and everything's why mess with it? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, if you ever also move or something, maybe, you know, you might want to look into it, but
yeah, I mean, I think if I were to see a person, or just have an image of a person, or just had an indication in general that there was a person doing all of this stuff, then maybe I would be more intrigued to look sooner. But when I was under the Estes thing and I saw that thing in the doorway, that wasn't a person. Like, that's not going to show up in the records that I'm going to find, whatever that thing is. It's too old. And so I don't know what I could deduce from going into regular records for that. Looking into like native lore in the area or something, maybe. I don't know. But and then the shadow figures that I've seen, I don't know. I just haven't had an inkling yet. Like you said, I just haven't had an inkling yet to look into it. And I haven't felt threatened. I mean, I got scratched that one time, but I also took that as okay, well, I was being, you know, I was also irritated in the moment. So and it wasn't like I got scratched out of nowhere.
Right. Well, and a lot of times too, I don't think like all scratching is all negative, because I feel like, you know, it could be their way of just trying to get your attention, where they didn't mean to physically harm you, you know, maybe it's just their way. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either.
Yeah. You just have to wonder about, you know, we don't know. We don't know if it's intentional, but in Heather's case, she was being a little unruly, and it was kind of like, let me show you where this is going to go. Don't use that tone with me.
That's right. I'll mimic whoever I want.
Do you know the previous owners of your home, or?
Yeah, actually my mother-in-law lived here. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law, it was their house. My husband grew up in this house.
Okay.
So, and then before them, they could tell you who lived here. I don't know the family that lived here before them, but my mother-in-law had seen things when she lived here. And there were certain rooms, like there was only one room that she would sleep in because it was the only room that she wouldn't have activity in at night. Gotcha. So, and she's also one of those people that's more sensitive to things. So, yeah, she had things happen here. And I was talking with my nephew who also grew up here, and he had a story of that he said he went to the basement because that's where they had kept an extra freezer in the basement for ice cream and stuff. And so he went down to get a popsicle, and he heard and saw his grandmother come down the stairs, my mother-in-law come down the stairs. and walk into the other room or whatever. And he thought that was weird. And he went back upstairs and she was standing in the kitchen. And he was like, Grandma, why were you downstairs? What were you doing? And she's like, I wasn't downstairs. And he's like, I just saw you walk down the stairs. And she said, we're not going to talk about it. And then that was it. Because she was already aware of stuff. But he has a vivid memory of that because he's like, there were things that would happen that, she didn't want to talk about it or whatever. And she's told me various things that have happened over the years, but she lives in a different house now, obviously. And
did you know about that before you moved in?
I knew about some of the stuff, but also I wasn't afraid of any of it, I guess, because some of the stuff, it seemed really personal as well, like personal to her. That I was like, well, maybe there was something just after you for whatever reason, or
right.
But I don't know. As far as the rooms go, like the room that I'm in, that I sleep in, it's not well, if it happens right now, I just ignore it. But like, it wasn't unheard of or surprising for shadow figures to peer around the doorway or come out of the closet and kind of linger over the bed or whatever, which was scary the first time. And then after that, it was just annoying because I didn't want to be scared and I wanted to just sleep. Like I really like sleep. And I would just be annoyed if I would look and there was something there. I'd be like, oh, come on, stop. Yeah. Which I can only, I don't know.
And it sounds like honestly you're the right person to live there because you're not scared of it
so much,
and you're not feeding it. A lot of people who get scared, they're feeding it, so it just amps it up. It gets worse and worse, and you're not. So you're probably the perfect person to be living in that house.
Probably.
Well, that's what I've told my one daughter who'd seen things before, and I would give her the advice of, well, if you're seeing something, does it scare you? Does it scare you? If it doesn't scare you and you don't feel threatened by it, then don't freak yourself out for no reason. If you feel threatened by it, ignore it. Just don't feed into it. Don't, whatever, just ignore it. That was always the advice that I've given her over the years. And so she's come to me before if she's seen something. She says, Mom, I saw something scary. It actually freaked me out. I'm like, okay, we're not going to talk about it. I'm sorry you saw that. I understand it. I acknowledge it. Now we're not talking about it.
Moving on.
That's right. That would just be the end of it.
You got a couple questions here. JD Smith asked, how many scratch marks did you get?
It was just one right down my neck.
Okay. And the next question, Bristol asked, Heather, did your in-laws have any Bigfoot activity back then?
So they did not that I am aware of. The property that they live on now, which is just a couple miles away from here, they've had activity on since they've moved in. But as far as I'm aware of, they didn't. I haven't actually sat down and had a conversation with them about stuff that happened here. But growing up, my husband said there wasn't anything. That the worst thing was that his dad would intentionally try to scare them and pretend that he was Bigfoot coming down off the hill when they were going to the farm, to the barn, to cows or whatever. He would come off the hill and pretend to be Bigfoot because they grew up with like the legend of Boggy Creek and stuff. And so, and we're in Minerva. And so the Minerva monster was a thing back then. So just growing up with that in your mind. But nothing like what's happening now.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing like today. One more question. What's your kitty's name? Like, you have the most playful kitten. Like
this kitten.
Yes.
He's got a catnip toy he keeps chasing after. I see. So that cat is named Porcupine, but I call him Mr. Pine. But he he's something. We called him Porcupine because when he was a kitten, the fur on his back end would stick straight up like quills. So the kids called him Porcupine.
That's awesome. He's cute. He's been playing behind you the whole time.
Yeah, he's ornery.
Yeah. And you have another question. Martin Grove says, Heather, have you or any of the team experienced mind speak?
Not that I'm aware of. If it's happened, it would have been more like a feeling of an intuition type situation where you think it's your intuition telling you to go somewhere. As far as I know, no, I haven't. And if anybody on my team has, they haven't told me.
What about anybody you or your team been zapped or anything like that?
No, no, not that I'm aware of. I mean, the one time that a friend was out here and we, like the first time that there was an inkling that there might be Bigfoot activity on the property, I thought that my friend might have had some intuition as to what was going on, but it turns out she actually saw something. She was just afraid to tell me that she saw it. So, because she said she saw something peeking around the tree at her. And that's why she wanted to get out of the woods. Because we had gone it started off with us going into the woods and we were like, let's do a ghost hunt in the woods and see what happens. Because why do you have to be confined to the house, right? Let's go in the woods.
Right.
So we take all of our equipment out to the woods. We set it all up. And she's taking her flashlight around and she's just looking around. And then all of a sudden she's like, I don't think that we should be here. I don't think we should be here.
Right.
We need to get out into the field. We need to get out of the woods. And I'm like, all right. She's more sensitive to stuff than I am, but I'm like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
So we go out to the field. And then while we're out in the field, I'm like, well, a big open field doesn't feel like a ghost investigation to me, but let's play a Bigfoot howl and see what happens. Because we're not far from where Matt Moneymaker recorded what's known as the Ohio howl.
Right.
That was just the next county over. So I'm like, let's just play the Ohio howl and see what happens. So we played it and we got a return response once I played it. So she doesn't tell me, like she freaks out. We have to leave and bring her back to the house. I ended up going back out with like a speaker and stuff. It was really,
Was it Lady Ann? Was it?
Yes, it was.
We love her.
Yeah, she was like, okay, I'm done. You got to take me back to the house. So I brought her back to the house. Because for her, what she didn't tell me until after she went back home was that she wanted out of the woods because when she was shining the flashlight around, she saw something peek out from the tree. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me that? She's like, I don't know. I figured that you'd tease me or something. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. It doesn't matter now, but she saw something. That's why she wanted to get out of the woods. But that would have been the closest. Like if she hadn't told me that she saw something, that would have been my closest to somebody having like mind speak. Like they would have known to get out of the woods, but she knew because she saw something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. She's very intuitive too.
Oh, she is. Absolutely. That's why I didn't question her when she was like, we got to get out of the woods. And I'm like, all right, I don't see why, but that's fine. We'll go. I trust you over my intuition. I trust yours over mine. We'll go.
Right.
Because you don't ever want to be wrong in this situation. It's just kind of like, well, I'm not feeling that. But if you are, maybe we need to,
Yeah, exactly.
Like maybe my radar's turned off. I don't want to be wrong in that situation.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Last week we had Johnny Hauser on our show from Villisca. And after the show got off, because with the book, we had done the book, and Brandy, she's like, we should have had Heather on here with us.
We should have.
That
would have been awesome.
Next year, honestly, Brandy and I are doing an event at Malvern Manor and at Villisca, and I'll let you know the dates. That would be great if you could come to those.
Yeah, we want to do them back to back.
Yeah, do one a Friday night and the other Saturday.
Yeah, because we're going to do Friday night will be a private at Villisca, and then we'll move on to Malvern.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be, Villisca is one of them that I'd be afraid to go to, I think, because I know the history of the house so much that I feel like I'd be overwhelmed with sadness, if nothing else. That's what concerns me about Villisca. But that'd be interesting. It'd be an interesting experience. Yeah, let me know. See if we can work that out.
Well, didn't Johnny say he was living in the house next to it where the neighbor who reported that something was wrong?
Yep.
That's where he's living at. It's in that house.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's such a sad story.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. And yeah, you'll have to go back and watch that episode. And next time we do have Johnny on, I will let you know, and you come on with us.
You're gonna have to.
Yeah, he's awesome.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
We talked about the just a little bit, but we talked about the ghosts kind of going back and forth between Villisca and Malvern. So, and the experiments they have been doing, and I was like, Heather would have just loved this.
Yeah. Well, it's Villisca, Malvern Manor, and the Sally House. They all three have weird coincidences.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But we won't have to worry about Sally House because we're not going there.
We're not going there.
No.
We're not going there. Thank you, Two Shadows. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, we are at the 9:30 mark almost. This has been by really fast.
It has. It has. Well, we're talking about our favorite subjects. We're just in there.
I think we touched on just about everything, didn't we?
We did, which is what we do. It's what we do. We just talk about everything and just ask each other questions.
Yeah,
that's
right. All over the wall, I always tell people we're not scripted. We're just like sit down and talk and have conversations. We may talk about this and squirrel off onto this,
Exactly. Just grab your drink, grab your snacks, have a seat, and let's talk. That's how it works.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we appreciate you coming on for sure.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been great.
We'll definitely be in touch. I'll let you know about next year with Malvern and all that good stuff because it's great. Both of them are great places. And at Malvern's really cool because like the last time we were there, Brandy and I stayed there by ourselves, sleeping.
Yeah.
And in the one room that Josh told me that, oh, you don't have to worry about anything coming in here, there's nothing bothers you in there. And sure enough, footsteps right there, walked right up to Brandy. She was sleeping. Like, Brandy.
Right, but this thing had been after me pretty much most of the night. So it didn't surprise me that it was coming to irritate me when I was sleeping.
Sure.
But I was so tired, I didn't hear it until she woke me up, and then we heard it again. I was like,
yeah.
You're just coming in here to irritate me.
Yeah.
That just reminds me of, I did get to investigate at the Lizzie Borden house.
Oh.
And nothing happened really while I was there except after we went to bed. And I thought that it was my friends down the hall. Like the door opened, somebody walked into the room, and then the door shut. Like I heard them walk in, walk out, door shut. And I thought that it was my friends down the hallway because when I go to investigations, I'm excited to be there. So I'm in a really good mood. We've been playing around. They had toys, so I had been playing with the toys. Like it was just a fun and jovial type situation. I figured my friends were messing with me. So I didn't react at all, even though it startled me to hear the door open and the footsteps or whatever. I'm just laying there acting like I'm asleep. Then they leave. And then I get up and go to their room down the hallway. And it wasn't them. I don't know what it was. That was the only thing that happened. But I thought, I was for certain that it was them just messing with me or whatever. And I wasn't going to give them any reaction either because I'm like, nope, you're not going to be the one pulling pranks on me.
What room was it that you slept in?
It
was upstairs, the top floor. When you get up to the top, you go all the way to the right.
So it wasn't like the stepmother's room or nothing like that.
No, it wasn't one of those rooms. No.
Yeah.
No, it was upstairs where like the servants would have slept, I believe.
Okay.
Up in that area.
Okay.
Yeah. I always wondered about that though. How haunted is that place, or is it the story that is giving us the creeps? I would be more interested in investigating the house that Lizzie moved to with the maid.
Yeah.
I would be more interested in that house.
Yeah.
Because why she would move in the same town after all that happened and buy a house and move in.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'd be really interested in that house. I don't even know if it's still standing. I need to look into that.
It is. The house she lived in afterwards is still there. It's just a private residence now.
Wow.
We saw it. I forget. It's got a name to it too. I don't remember what it's called, but
Wow. Speaking of Johnny Hauser, he said he spent a week there at the Lizzie Borden house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah, by himself. And
Wow.
he was talking, he was more scared to walk out of the house because I guess it's in a shady area.
Yeah, that's the most
kinda-
activity. The most
Yeah.
activity that we saw was through our upstairs window. We were watching like a bar fight out across the road, and then the police come and everybody split and ran different directions. But that as far as paranormal activity, that's all I got were the footsteps and the door opening.
But we know it's like that sometimes. It's just like
Yeah,
that.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, once again, we appreciate you, and we'll definitely be in touch. So we'll have to hook up for sure next year.
Sounds
We have
good.
to find more. I'm sorry, more fun stuff to do. We need to find more fun stuff.
Yes, there you go. There you go. We appreciate everybody tuning in tonight, and tomorrow night we have Brandy and Tex and Donnie Cho at 7 p.m. Central. My daughter has homecoming tomorrow night.
Oh Lord, that's going to be a show. Everybody tune in because it could be a train wreck. We just don't know yet.
Who knows? So anyway, tune in tomorrow night, and we'll see y'all. And thank you once again, Heather. We appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Heather. Good night, everybody.
Good night.